Does that video make anyone else want to dance? All right, sorry, let me clean up a minute. So, who was here last week? A good amount of you. Who remembers what we talked about last week? Anybody? Go ahead, shout it out. Can't lose God's grace. Promise. Anybody else? Cool, that's pretty much it. We talked about God's promise. And we talked about, remember what story we used? Anybody?
Abraham.
Abraham, that's right. And so we talked about how God made this promise to Abraham, and as we later find out, as we continue to go through Genesis, we see that God fulfilled his promise, and God gave Abraham a son, and then there's many other descendants after that, and there's all sorts of things that happen, and Israel becomes huge. And what happens is they end up becoming enslaved to this guy named Pharaoh in Egypt. And today we're going to kind of talk about that. And we're going to talk about how God was faithful to the Israelites during that time and after that time, even though they weren't faithful to God. But I wanted to give a little illustration first of faithfulness. So can I get one volunteer? Saw your hand first. Will you come up here? You know what this is? Use this for shaving cream? Good. All right. So it's a challenging task you have. Okay? I want you to somehow figure out how to get all that shaving cream out of that can onto the plate. So as she's doing that, go ahead. You can go ahead and start doing it. Who's used shaving cream before? Most of us? Okay. Some of us. Don't make a mess though, okay? Try not to make a mess. So this beautiful can of shaving cream kind of represents our cute little Christian life, right? We're becoming a Christian, and we're oh so perfect, and God just loves us so much. And what starts to happen though, come on, you gotta get all of it out of there. There you go, all of it. What starts to happen though, right? We're faithful. We're this faithful little can that holds in all this shaving cream, okay? And that's our life. We're just contained in this perfect little life. Is it all almost out? You're almost there, right? But then life starts to happen. We start to get distracted. And we start to pour out parts of us into other things. And we just give all of ourselves out to all these things. And that's what we do when we sin. We're giving parts of ourselves out. Right? All right, that's good. That's good. You made it good. No, go ahead and keep the can real quick. And no, will you stand right there? Can you do me one other thing? Can you get all the shaving cream back in the can, please? Go ahead and try it. That was a weak effort. Come on, try it. It doesn't work? All right, thank you. You can sew that in. Can I get a leader to move this aside for me, please? So, interesting, right? Interesting. We have this perfect, faithful little life. And then one sin happens. We pour a little bit of ourselves out. And then another sin happens. And then slowly it's this snowball effect where we're just pouring everything we have into this world. And we're no longer faithful to God. But what's really crazy is that after it's all poured out, we can't do anything on our own to get back to God and be faithful again. Just like you can't do anything to get that shaving cream. Go ahead, someone's trying to eat it and tell them what it tastes like. The shaving cream back into the can. Because we've made this mess. We're having so much fun with our sin and with pouring out shaving cream. I don't know if you've ever done that. It's kind of fun if you have like parties and you're just throwing it around everywhere, right? You're making this mess, and before you realize, you have no idea how big of a mess it is. Because it just goes everywhere. It's just all over. And it's impossible to clean it up and get it back in the can on your own. So, let's kind of look at situations like that in the Bible. Let's go ahead and go to Exodus chapter 6. Lauren, were you scared that I was just going to take it and throw it at you? Pie to the face? I wanted to, but that would have been messy. So, like I was saying earlier, we saw Abraham last week, and we saw he got this promise from God, and God stayed true to his promise, and God is a faithful God. And we see that the descendants grew exponentially, and we had this big nation, and this nation was getting so big and powerful that Egypt and their ruler, Pharaoh, was like, dude, I do not like that. That's a threat. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to enslave them. So Pharaoh and Egypt go and enslave all of Israel and turn them into slaves to just work for them so that they can't grow up and be this powerful nation and take over Egypt. And so we're going to kind of see this story of what happens, and the Israelites start to be like, dude, I don't like slavery. Like, this sucks. I want out. And so we're going to see how they kind of respond to that. So Exodus 6, verses 2 through 8. I'm going to go ahead and read this real quick. It says, God spoke to Moses and said to him, I am the Lord. I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob as God Almighty, but my name, the Lord, I do not make myself known to them. I also established my covenant with them to give them the land of Canaan. I think that's Canaan, something like that. The land in which they lived as sojourners. Moreover, I have heard the groaning of the people of Israel, whom the Egyptians hold as slaves, and I have remembered my covenant. So therefore to the people of Israel, say therefore to the people of Israel, I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will deliver you from slavery to them, and I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great acts of judgment. I will take you to be my people, and I will be your God, and you shall know that I am the Lord your God, who has brought you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. I will bring you into the land that I swore to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. I will give it to you for a possession. I am the Lord. All right, so that was a long set of verses that basically said this. God spoke and said, I get that you're struggling. I get that you don't like your life. I get that these people are being brutal to you and oppressing you, so I'm going to set you free. So imagine you're an Israelite that's just getting brutally whipped and tortured all the time and just works for nothing. You feel like your life means nothing. You don't have any freedom. You don't have anything. And then you get news that you're going to be set free. How amazing would that be? Right? Who would be excited about that? Like, honestly, raise your hand. Like, you're a slave and you're like, freedom, heck yeah. It's kind of like when you turn 16, you get your license, you're like, woo! And then you realize that it's not really freedom, trust me. Then you have to start paying for stuff, and it's not fun. I wish I could go back. I liked being 16 when I didn't have a car and my parents paid for all the gas, because I was like, I got to drive all the time, but I didn't have to pay for gas. Now, it's like $80 every time I fill up my truck, and that hurts your heart right here. It's sad. Trust me. You're like, you just cry as you swipe the card. You're like, oh. Right? So they get this sense of freedom, and they're so excited about it, right? And so the next verse we're going to read, we're going to start to see how they respond. So this happens. What God says happens, and they are led out of slavery. And they're traveling, and some bad stuff happens. And they're not faithful. Right? Who can relate to that? God sets you free. You have this big moment of excitement for your freedom in Christ that you've been given. Right? Like when you first accept Christ, if you have, and you're like, yes, this is great. Or you go to camp, and you're like, yeah, Christianity is cool. And then life actually starts to hit again. You start to tumble a little bit. And your faithfulness starts to tumble a little bit. Right? And so these people were no longer faithful. The Israelites were no longer faithful. And they're like traveling through the desert. Have you guys heard the story where they traveled through the desert for a really long time? 40 years? 40 years? Yeah, 40 years. And they're like, dude, this sucks, right? And they're in the middle of it. We're going to read in Numbers 14. Numbers 14. This is how they respond. Right? So imagine this. You've just been set free and you're walking through a desert. And you're like, dude, this is taking forever. Like, God promised us to go to this great land. We're supposed to be going to the promised land. Hint, hint, promise from last week. It's called the promised land. That's where we're supposed to be going. And I feel like we're traveling in circles. We're just traveling in circles. And this is how they start to respond. Numbers 14, verses 2 through 4. And all the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The whole congregation said to them, Would that we have died in the land of Egypt, or would that we had died in this wilderness. Why is the Lord bringing us into this land to fall by the sword? Our wives and our little ones will become a prey. Would it not be better for us to go back to Egypt? And they said to one another, let us choose a leader and go back to Egypt. Are you kidding me? You just were a slave. You were set free. I know you're like, dude, you know what? I don't really like my freedom in the desert because this isn't the place I wanted to live. So let's go back to slavery. Have you been to Egypt? It's still in the desert. What kind of thought is that? Like, oh, well, at least there, I was a slave while I was in the desert. No! That's not right. You don't get it. Right? We sit here and I love reading the Bible and going, what are you thinking? Like I yell at my Bible like I'm the weird guy in Star Wars. It's like, really? You don't get it, Israelites? And then I start to look at myself and go, oh, I don't get it. How often do I say I'm gonna renew my faith in Christ, or I'm gonna redo something, and then the next week I'm not faithful? How often do I say I'm gonna stop doing something? Yeah, I find it so hard to do that. And I remain unfaithful. But here's the beauty of it. God stayed faithful. Because as you continue the story, you find out those people get to the promised land. They make it. It took 40 years. 40 years, that's a long time. Could you imagine being in the desert for 40 years? You would be tanned, right? They made it. God was faithful. And that goes off of last week. God stays true to his promise and he stays faithful to us. Regardless of where you are, regardless of what you do, God stays faithful. We're going to read one more story. It's in Hosea. I've read this before and it's my favorite. It's my favorite story in the Bible. But it's kind of hard to find, so look at your table of contents if you need to. I'll give you a second to go ahead and get it there. Hosea chapter 3. Yeah, a lot of people don't even know it's in the Bible. All those little minor prophets, you're like, oh, Obadiah? I thought that was the guy in Iron Man. Seriously, that's what I thought. And then I went to Bible school and was like, oh, I should probably know the books. So as you're flipping there, I want you to think of this. Imagine you're an Israelite at that time. Now be really, really honest. Actually, be honest to the person next to you. Would you be a person that's on board for going back to Egypt? Would you be that unfaithful person? Go ahead, ask the person next to you. Be honest. All right, 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right, let's bring it back in. Who said they'd be a person that's like, let's go back to Egypt? That's me. I'm like, shoot, at least I was eating there, right? I don't have to trust in God then. I just go back to Egypt. I know, hey, I'm going to be beaten, I'm going to be abused, but hey, I get food, right? It's so hard to trust in God. That's what they had to do when they're in the desert. They had to trust. They didn't know where their next meal was going to come from. You ever been in the middle of a desert? There's not a lot of food running around. They had to trust that God was going to provide. And then God did provide, and he continued to provide the same thing, and they're like, dude, this tastes gross after 40 years. They're like, oh, I don't want the same meal every day for 40 years. But God's like, you don't get it. I'm giving you food out of nowhere. It's like raining food. Like, amen, right? I love food. Like, if it started raining like pasta and bread, I'd be like, I'm in, right? But you start to get like, oh, well, this isn't as much as I wanted, God. This isn't quite good enough. I know you're being faithful, but could you be a little better at your faithfulness? And then you re-examine yourself and you're like, oh, I don't deserve anything. I'm not faithful. And so we're going to read Hosea 3. And this is my favorite Bible story. Because it's an Old Testament picture of Jesus. So as we read this, Hosea is the guy, okay? That might be confusing. It sounds kind of like a girl's name. He's the guy, all right? And his wife is named Gomer. And God had come to Hosea and said, hey, you're gonna have a wife. This is what you're gonna do. You're gonna go pick a wife. Here's your criteria. She's gonna be a prostitute. So you, Mr. Godly man, go to the area where all the prostitutes hang out and take one of them to be your wife. And he does. Talk about faithfulness to God, right? Like, go pick a prostitute up off the street and make her your wife. I'd be like, what? Like, are you sure? Like, I don't think you know what you're saying, God. But he does it. And we're going to read what starts to happen in their marriage. So Hosea chapter 3, verses 1 through 5. Oh, I forgot to add one thing. So they're married. Cute little marriage. Have some kids and stuff. And then Gomer decides she's going to leave. She doesn't just decide she's going to leave her husband. She says, I'm going to leave. And I'm going to go be a prostitute. So this prostitute had been redeemed by her husband. In that culture, she was worth nothing. She was an object. That's how she was treated and looked at. And Hosea was faithful to God and said, okay, I'll redeem her. A godly man didn't go to meet in the prostitute area. But he went and picked her as his wife, like God said. And then she leaves again. I don't know about you, but my heart, in all honesty, I'd be like, fine, let her go. I don't care. You can go cheat on me, be a prostitute, fine. That's how I see my heart so often. But let's read how Hosea responds. It says, and the Lord said to me, go again, love a woman, he's talking about Gomer here, love a woman who was loved by another man and is an adulteress, even as the Lord loves the children of Israel, though they turn to other gods and love cakes of raisins. So I bought her for 15 shekels of silver and a homer and a something of barley. I don't know how to say that. And I said to her, you must dwell as mine for many days. You shall not play the whore or belong to another man. So will I also be to you. For the children of Israel shall dwell many days without king or prince, without sacrifice or pillar, without ephod or household gods. Afterwards the children of Israel shall return and seek the Lord their God, and David their king, and they shall come in fear to the Lord and to his goodness in the latter days. So Hosea has a wife who's a prostitute. And then she becomes his wife and she's no longer a prostitute. And then she decides she wants to go back. Sound familiar? Israelites? My freedom isn't quite good enough. I'm going to go back to my slavery. But Hosea hears from God, and this is a perfect, beautiful description of Jesus. Go and love the woman again. Are you kidding? That's what Jesus does? I cheat on him. I'm a prostitute. I can use the word. It says I'm a whore. That's a horrible word. A horrible word. And that's me. And that's you. That is what we are when we cheat on God and we are unfaithful. But it says, go and love the woman again. And here, verse 2. Look at verse 2. Here's where it gets this is where I cry every time. So I bought her for 15 shekels of silver, and a homer, and a leafage of barley. Leafage of barley. Do you get this? This is his wife. his wife. And now he's paying for her. So he goes to this place that no godly man goes to re-find his wife. He finds her, and there's some guy who owns her now. It's like her pimp. And the guy's like, Hosea's like, dude, that's my wife. And the guy's like, I don't give a crap who she is. She's mine now. You want her, you pay for her. Are you kidding me? It's my wife. I have to pay to get my wife back, the one that just ran away? She deserves nothing. She was fine, and she chose to run away. And Hosea says, I'm faithful to my wife, and I love her. So he pays for her. The one that ran away. An unfaithful wife runs away, and Hosea says, I'll pay for her again. She doesn't deserve it, but I'll pay for her again. What? What a beautiful display of the gospel. So this is what it tells us. The end of that verse says, there will be a day where all this will be wiped away. In the latter days, there will be a Messiah that pays the debt for all. Pays the debt for all. And that's Jesus. And that's why I love this story, because it gives a picture of Jesus. And then it literally says that, oh yeah, just so you know, this is going to happen on a grand scale for individuals. Because the Bible paints this picture of Jesus as the church and we're his bride. And every time we sin, every time we're unfaithful to him, we're like Gomer. We're running away from our husband to go be a prostitute. God is faithful, regardless of your actions. Regardless of your actions. Just that resonate with your heart. Because I can sit here and I can say it. And you can sit here and you can nod. You can be the person that's like, yeah. Okay. I get what you're saying, Ricky. That's awesome. But until it sinks from here to here, you will be the same. When it sinks from your head to hearing it and knowing it, and it touches your heart, the very instant, you will be changed. Because there is no love and there is no faithfulness that is as true as God's. Husbands and wives love each other, and so often they're faithful to each other, and they don't even compare to God. Because let me be really, really honest, and as a male, I know what this society is like, and I struggle every day to not look at a woman that walks by and is wearing a tight pair of jeans or a tight shirt. I can be honest with you about that. It's a battle I have, and it's a battle most males in this room have. And let me be honest, that most of the females in this room struggle with some sort of insecurity, and when some guy, if it's their husband or not, points it out and says that it's, oh, you're really beautiful, she's going to flutter a little bit. Because why? Because we're sinners. We're sinners. And that attention feels great. Who can be honest? Who likes getting attention? Be honest, raise your hand. Yep. Do you like that flutter feeling? Like, oh my gosh, he said it was cute. Me, Andre, and Katie, and Kirsten went to the water park yesterday. It was great. It was so much fun. We were over there for 2 hours, and we're like, all right, I'm an adult. That's enough fun for me. And so we left, right? But it was funny. We were talking about, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in 8th grade, and I'm like with my crush again. I'm like, I'm going to go down the slide with her. Right? And I'm like, what? But you get that feeling, that flutter. That flutter inside of you. And that's great. God designed that feeling. But the only one that's going to give you a sustaining and lasting feeling like that is God. The only one that's going to give you that feeling when you're running away to go be a prostitute is God. Because we want to look at it and go, man, she was bad, she's a prostitute. But the reality is that's what each and every one of us do every single day. And each and every day, Jesus is coming back and saying, I will pay for her. I will pay for it. They're mine. I want them. I'm faithful to them until the end, regardless of their actions. That's beautiful. That's the gospel. That's his faithfulness. That touches our heart and shows us love like nothing else can. Let's pray. God, thank you for these kids. Thank you for this time together. Thank you that we can sit and dig into your word. Thank you that we can learn about you, and thank you for giving me the words to be able to teach about. God, I pray that as we look and examine our lives, our hearts are stirred, our hearts are touched, and our hearts are open to the reality of how faithful you are and how much you love us regardless of our actions. That even as we act like Gomer, we go into the places we shouldn't, we do the things we shouldn't, you come, you pay for us, and you bring us back to your home, God. God, I love you. Thank you for your son. That's in your name I pray. Amen.